Hi, my name is Lindsay Janicek, and I am doing my persuasive speech over sexual education in classrooms in the United States, and this is my audience. Shouldn't teenagers have the right to basic knowledge about sexual education? Something needs to be done about all of these young people under the age of 18 contracting STDs, STIs, and unwanted pregnancies. Children need to be taught about sexual education to stop making the same mistakes that they're making now. I was never taught about sex ed in school besides a measly 10-minute video about your menstrual cycle in 4th grade. Luckily, I had a mother that told me what I needed to know, so there was no curiosity in me making bad decisions or mistakes. But some kids don't have the luck that I did, and they don't have parents that teach them, and sometimes they don't learn anything at all at home. Kids are going to make mistakes regardless, and no matter what, but sex ed can prevent a lot of those mistakes from happening. Today, I'm going to explain why I think that it's so important to have sexual education classes in the United States in all classrooms. I care about this topic because one day I want to have children, and I hope that my future children get to be educated on this subject, especially if ever put in a compromising situation, they'll know what to do. The first point I'm going to make is a big controversial issue. Should parents be allowed to opt their children out of these classes? Different people have different ways of raising their kids, but in the end, everybody's on this planet to reproduce, and it's inevitable that at some point people are going to be put in that situation. It's not fair for teens that have parents with different views than others to not get to learn what all of their classmates are going to learn. It's a child's right, not a parent's decision. Samantha Allen from the Daily Beast talks about how the United States is very behind in the world with sexual education classes. They say that there's only 13 states that make it mandatory to have these sex ed classes. It puts us the furthest behind. In the United Kingdom, for example, if parents are to take their kids out of school because they don't want them in the sex ed classes, then they get fined by the country. The highest teen pregnancy rate is in the United States, and that comes from having the highest uninformed teens. My next point I'm going to make is whether we should teach abstinence or contraception. A lot of people argue that abstinence should be the only thing taught because they're not 18 and they're not grown-ups, so they shouldn't know about it. Well, I think that's a very narrow-minded, oblivious path to take, because statistically, over 70% of teens are sexually active by the time they are 19. Monica Silva from the Oxford Journals talks about how sex ed delays initiation of sexual activity, it lowers unwanted pregnancies, and it makes teens make more rational decisions. There used to be, when they started sexual ed classes, 2 separate classes. Some schools taught abstinence only, and some schools taught contraception. Now that we've gone a little further, they now have mixed classes to let kids know that they have options and what to do if they choose to take the sexual activity path. My last point I want to make is that some parents argue that there's the internet and they should just let kids be curious and teach themselves. In the New York Times, Jan Hoffman is very against this, saying that using the internet they're going to get a lot of inaccurate information, and it's probably going to take them to websites that they shouldn't be on. A lot of kids use search engines and a text app by Planned Parenthood where they can text their questions and get their answers. But if that's the case, I think it also teaches kids that it's okay to be embarrassed about having questions. If they're in a classroom setting, they're more likely to have an open discussion and feel more comfortable to ask what they're wondering about. As I said earlier, there's no doubt that kids are going to make mistakes, but kids are curious, and if we don't give them the knowledge that they want, they're going to go elsewhere and find inaccurate information, or worse, get themselves into a bad situation and make an irresponsible decision. There needs to be mandatory classes no matter what parents say, because like I said before, it is the child's right, not the parent's decision. In these classes, they need to teach both alternatives of sexual activity. Even though abstinence is obviously preferred, the kids should be prepared just in case. There also needs to be taught in class, not online. We want kids to feel comfortable asking about these questions. Today, I hope my speech will make you agree that kids need to be taught sexual ed in the United States. It can prevent so many bad things from happening just if these kids get educated. Thank you.